Namaste, yogis. So we're going to look at Virabhadrasana II, the second warrior pose, at some really essential ways to work the thigh bones in the hip sockets so that the pelvic bones, and in particular your sacrum, the backbone of the pelvis, stay safe, stay spacious. It's very easy to overwork the legs and to try to push the pelvis so far that the sacrum kind of gets pushed forward into the front of the body. And the SI joints, which are the joints here, take a look. So the sacrum is this flat bone right here. It's a wedge shape like that. And the SI joints are the joints that run along the side of the sacrum and meet up with the ilium bones, which are these broad butterfly-like bones that come around to the front. And there's a fair amount of movement in the SI joints. It varies from person to person. But what we don't want to do is to work the ilium, the thighs, in such a way that the ilium get pushed forward and push that sacrum forward, because it kind of rubs and compresses into those SI joints. So we're going to look at the second warrior, which is kind of a blueprint, if you will, for other poses like the triangle trikonasana and Parshvakonasana, your side angle pose, as well as your half moon. You'll work the same way in all of these poses. So Lucy, will you come up and step wide? And let's set up for second warrior. So she's going to rotate her right leg, in this case, all the way out from the hip. And so when we move from the hip, the whole leg, thigh, knee, foot, ankle, the whole thing points to the side. And then for most of us, letting that back heel slide slightly back so the toes are angled 15 to 30 degrees. Inhale, go ahead and spread and widen the arms. And so what I want you to notice is that what we've done in the front thigh, in the hip socket, we've externally rotated. We're rolling the back of the thigh back and under, congruent through the knee, shin, and ankle. But in the back leg, we're neutral. In the back leg, many of us need to think about softening the inner thigh back and letting that back outer thigh roll slightly forward. Now, when you do this, you'll find that your pelvis is facing a diagonal rather than flush or square to the side of the room, right? And that's what we want. Inhale deeply. You're going to keep that back thigh pushing back as that front thigh rolls under. And it feels like they're coming together to stabilize. Inhale, and then bend that front leg. And she's going to track that knee right over the center of the foot. And yeah, it's fine to adjust so that eventually, in an ideal world, the shin bone would be pretty vertical. But I don't want you to think about the shape. I don't want you to think about trying to mirror a picture you've seen. Rather, I want you to send the root of this thigh bone down, and as you do that, push the front shin back. And what that's going to do is engage your hamstring and the quadricep at the same time, which is how we keep joints safe. It's called a co-contraction. This looks great. So notice as she rolls this under, presses the root of this thigh forward, she's lengthening the inner thigh. That's why we do these poses, to stretch the inner thigh. Now, at the same time, as she drives the back thigh back without any rotation, there's a feeling of opening the front of the pelvis. But as she does that, she lengthens her tailbone down, engaging the lowest belly. Spread through both arms, inhale, and if she wants, she can look out over that right hand into the classical pose. Inhale. Exhale. Straighten your front leg to come up and turn your legs to neutral. Place your hands on your hips, step or hop your feet together. All right, we will do the second side. But I'm going to ask Lucy to face backwards. So you turn around, step or hop your legs, and let's do your second side. So from deep in the hip socket, rotating the whole thigh, shin, ankle, and foot, so they all are congruently facing the side of the room. Now, we're going to do it the other way, the not so good way, just briefly. So can you turn this leg out? And I want you to see here how the buttock muscles, these are the external rotators, they grip and they push her sacrum forward. Now, I want you to watch right here as she turns this leg in. So you see how the pelvis is now facing a diagonal, and as these muscles release away from the sacrum has space to move. It's not being pushed forward or forced along these lines. Big inhale. And as she exhales, she's going to bend that front leg And look how she tracks that knee. You can wiggle the foot further forward as needed. Good. So let's look at the work again. From the front knee, she's pulling muscularly back along that outer edge. And right where that muscle comes into the buttock, that's where the external rotators are. At that point, she pulls down and rolls under. That's called external rotation. She's going to keep that work, and she's going to do the same thing, descending the root of the thigh as she pushes the shin back, and that turns that hamstring muscle on so the poor quadricep doesn't have to do all the work. In her back leg, simultaneously, she's softening that inner thigh back, resisting the urge to just push open, trying to square. It's not helpful. As she does that, she's able to send the tailbone down, and look how long her lower back gets. And there's that little lift of the lower belly. In the back foot, she's powerfully grounding the big toe in the inner heel. Yes, she's lifting the arch, and she's grounding that inner foot. Bend another inch with joy. So notice her pelvis is facing the diagonal towards the front knee slightly. At the same time, she's twisting the upper body, which does face square. Turn the gaze to that front hand. Big inhale. Could you soften one thing right now as you exhale? And inhale, rise. And turn your legs to neutral. And step or hop your feet together. Thank you. So that's it. I really encourage you to play with these actions and to remember that we're all different. And in fact, right and left are different. So on one side, your pelvis may need to face quite a bit towards that leg if that's a tighter hip. Whereas on the other, you may get almost open all the way, right? It's good to remember that we're not here to serve the poses. We're not here to make this body look a certain way. We're here to use the poses, to learn from the poses, to open and balance our bodies so that we have a joyous, healthy body for many, many years to come so that we can do the real work of yoga, which is to know self, to find peace, and spread kindness. Namaste, yogis.